Hey guys, I'm Jacinta Robinson and welcome to the Fearlss podcast, where I interview athletes who achieved incredible things. Today's guest was a ballerina and now holds a pro status in WBFF. She's been competing since the age of 19 and has won 5 competitions. Her area of expertise is helping people get ready for comp and after comp, get them mentally strong and prepared to step on stage and feel glamorous and beautiful about themselves. She believes anything is possible as long as you're willing to work hard for it and believe in yourself. I'd like to welcome Alicia Gowans. Alicia, you're a world beauty, fitness and fashion world champion. Thanks for coming on for the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I was a bit excited and then I got here and saw this view that we have in the background. I'm even more excited.
Yeah, it's so beautiful out there, especially today. It's
such a good day. We have been joking about the fact that we've been away and we've skipped all of winter. And then we got back and it was freezing and I had all these layers and I'm like looking at him going, I thought we skipped all this. And then today turns it on and it's beautiful. And now I feel like we really did skip it all. It's a great day.
I did the bridge to Brisbane yesterday and that was
how are you walking today? I would be crawling. I'd be crawling to meet me at the front door if I had been you.
Oh, no, it was really nice actually. It wasn't too hot, but then the day was beautiful after that.
It actually was a nice day yesterday, yeah.
So WBFF, what is WBFF exactly?
Look, I think it's definitely, I think, the market leader in regards to the competing landscape. And I truly believe that for a couple of reasons, but it stands for the World Beauty, Fitness and Fashion. And it is a brand, not a federation. So it is very commercially orientated and it's, I would say, a platform of opportunity for anyone that wants to do anything in regards to modeling or really being a influencer or a profile within the fitness, landscape, fitness industry. It's a market leader for that. And, look, you've just got to look at some of the people that have been in the brand itself at the top that are now professional WWE wrestlers. We've got professional models. We've got people that are in reality TV and they've had these opportunities present through being a professional athlete within the WBFF. So, look, I can't say enough about it. I'm a massive advocate.
Yeah. I really like it because it looks so glamorous.
It really is. I mean, look, you don't turn up to a registration event, in anything less than what you'd expect to wear to a Logie's event. So it's phenomenal. You get to be a complete princess. You get to go lift heavy stuff all week wearing nothing but Nike ticks and then all of a sudden slip into Louboutins and a gown and put a full face of makeup on. It's polar opposite of your lifestyle, but that's what makes it so exhilarating too.
Yeah.
It's awesome. You get this multi-dimensional.
And so what is the other federations? What's the difference? Because I know from what I see on the outside, you stand there like this. Like, how do you get what's the difference between them?
That's actually pretty true. Probably the biggest differentiation is, as you just mentioned, the posing and what we bring to the stage. The WBFF is a modeling show. So I would liken it to, Miss Universe beauty pageant meets the gym meets Victoria's Secrets is really probably the best way to encapsulate it. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful to watch. Even watching the men, it's beautiful because they come out and they strut we actually have like a 35-meter runway, which is like this. It is essentially like watching a fashion show.
Very similar to Victoria's Secret,
very
actually.
similar. And, the men come down and it's more like watching them modeling or showcasing the briefs they're wearing or the suit they're about to wear than it is just about most muscular poses, which makes it, as a female watching it, a lot less awkward for starters. Yeah. But also it's enjoyable, like you can, I don't know about you, but if you've ever gone to another federation where it's like actual most muscular posing and what have we, and you've got to go through you got to sit there to watch your friend compete in their category, but you've got to watch all the other categories first or after. I find it can get tedious and boring, whereas ours, you can't stop watching. And even if it's got a lineup where your friend or your family member or your loved one is not standing in it, you're still captured by it. You still want to watch it because everyone that's on stage is so goddamn beautiful, or the suits we wear that are so elaborate and blinged, and there's more Swarovski than there are in all the stores in Australia, I believe, on the stage. It's pretty spectacular, you know, like it's a show, it's a production. And so look, differentiation, I believe, and I have deep respect for other brands and other federations. I believe every single federation has its purpose, and everyone that wants to compete will find their home, right? And WBFF is not for everyone. It really isn't. If you are someone who is more of a wallflower, and it's just not your natural nature to get out there and perform, then you might find the rote quarter turns of a figure or a fitness division in a, you know, different federation perfect for you, because that would be the main differentiation. When you walk out on stage in another brand, you're walking out on stage and you're doing, you know, a very routine, prescriptive set of posing. Everyone is exactly the same. Your suits are meeting an exact criteria that are very similar. They might just be different colored. It's a much heavier level of tan. The dream tan, you've got to have, like, I think there's Glad wrap all over every wall of the toilet in any one of those venues, because otherwise they're going to get sued. Like it's very different from that respect. Whereas we're very much about, you know, looking like we just walked off the cover of a magazine or straight off the runway of Paris. You know, that's kind of probably the main differentiation.
And so how do you win? Like, how does it get judged?
Look, it's the judging criteria again is very different. Like in the other brands and in the other federations, it's almost 100% just your physique, right? Well, it would actually be 100% just physique. Whereas with ours, it's 60% physique, so conditioning and the body meeting the criteria requirements of the different category. But then the other 40% is made up of beauty, what you're wearing, so your fashion, your you know, the orientation you're bringing to stage, how you're presenting it, so your stage presentation, and then your marketability. So, you know, do you look like someone that could have a high-end mainstream commercial company approach you and go, we want you to model for our widget, like whatever the product is, you know? So it's awesome, because it's really looking at so many other factors than just your physique. Like your physique.
Whole.
Yes, exactly. So you're not just focusing on one, you know, one area. It's a personal development sport when you step into this brand, because you're personally developing every single area of yourself. You know, it's not just what you take to stage. It's also then how you communicate. It's how you present. It's, you know, do you have the qualities to be an ambassador, which is so much more than what you just do in those 5 minutes you're on stage, right? So it's exciting, I think. And so to be a champion, you know, really you're mastering your craft, you're honing your skills across every area of your life. And I think every area of yourself as an athlete, when you step on that stage, you've leveled up. And that's probably the best way that I would describe the WBFF. It is next level, and it is literally the best of the best when you're stepping on that stage. If you step on that stage and you don't win first time, which for most people you won't, you can understand why, because you're stepping on stage with people that are at the elite of their game. So, you know, just to even make it to the stage is a win in itself. If you make it to the stage and get top 10, then you're in the top percentage. If you make it to the stage and then pursue it further and get into the top lineup or win it, then, you know, you really are the best of the best.
Yeah. And do many people compete? Like, is it a huge?
It's massive, and it's growing. It's exponentially growing. Like, we're in 45 countries at the moment and expanding. Every year they're opening up sort of 2 to 3 more shows. The shows in Australia are ridiculous. Like, you know, Ari and Pauline run an amazing event. So they're great promoters, and we're seeing the numbers just explode. Like, I can remember when we first started here, we were getting like 100 to 120 people on stage. Now in the October show last year, we had 300 athletes.
Wow.
Crazy. In the Sydney show this year, sold out audience, completely sold out show. So so it's expanding and it's evolving. And I think, you know, fitness is the new black. Like everyone's into it now.
And I think for this too, because you feel glamorous, you don't,
correct.
Especially like what you said, being a lady, you don't want to feel masculine,
God, I know,
but you
right?
want to look a certain physique. So,
man, you want to look like you're a boss ass babe, right? Yeah. But you want to look like you're also, you know, a diva that can turn it up, and you want to feel glamorous, and it really does give you all of that. You know, from the whole event, when you look at everything from the registration through, like I mentioned before, at our registration events, you don't walk in and pick up your number or put your name down in your tracky dacks, your Havianas, and a, you know, really crappy level of 2 times base coat. Like, it's not like that. You walk in literally in a gown, in your best designer labels if you've got them, and your hair and makeup's done. You look like you've just rolled out of a limousine onto a red carpet at a Logies event, and that's to pick up your number. Like if that's setting the tone, then that's giving you an idea about what then show day brings, which is a whole nother level again. Like there's production lights. It's like being at the theater. I mean, it's that level of show, the lights and the LED lighting, and then the big screen televisions that project your image so that everyone in the back row can see you as visibly as they're in the front row. There's a lot of money that goes into that. Like these shows are next level run, but high level production. And, as an athlete, you just feel like it's all been worth something. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing more frustrating. I remember the days when I first started competing as an ex-ballerina. I was, 42 kilo chihuahua ringing wet level physique when I first started. Like there wasn't much to me. Yeah. You could have swung me around a room and thrown me and I would have blown off in the breeze, but I felt jacked at the time. Right? Yeah. So when I first started, I remember being on stage. And I became Miss Australia in the INBA before I pursued the WBFF, because I took the tagline of the best so literally that I was like, well, right, I better be the best at something else first. So I tackled INBA, and the year that I won Miss Australia, I competed against 800 athletes. Like that was a really big show. Like there was 800 people in the show. It was something like 180 odd in my divisional lineup. And I can remember feeling like you all like walk on together in this one big line and row, and then you do your little quarter turns, and then you like all walk off. And I remember being like, wow, all this time, all this effort, all this sacrifice, and it's like 5 minutes and it's over. Whereas in the WBFF, it's like it's this multi-day, multi-tiered event. You have the morning pre-qualifying round, you have the evening show. There's all the glitz of meeting the pros as you're, walking into the show for the first time. There's interviews being had before you even take the stage, as soon as you get off the stage. Like there's this constant atmosphere and energy and vibe, and you feel like it goes for like days, to the point where by the time you actually finish your show, you're like, okay, I'm exhausted. Like, before you would have been amped to just go and have a feed and drinks or something with family and friends. Now at the end of the show, I'm like, oh baby, can we just go home, go to bed? Like I'm exhausted, because it really is so much. Like you tapped into this, like I said, is a stream of energy, and then you kind of tap out of the matrix at the end of the show, and then you kind of go, okay, I need a nap from that now. Yeah. But it really is worth going to. If any of you have never been to a show, please go and watch one, because you will absolutely love it, and you'll see why. Away. Yeah, you will be blown away, and it will completely redefine the term bodybuilding for you, because we talk about it all the time. We're not a bodybuilding show, we are a modeling show, and you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about if you go and witness one. And if you are thinking about competing and you have a little inner diva, then you definitely need to try this. And, even if you're not competing and you've got friends that have or are, it might be something you might want to suggest to them if you think that if you think they've got a passion for the industry and they want to get something more out of just ticking a box, then this could be something for them.
I think it's just so much more beautiful, and I think whoever does it, like you said, when they've done it, they're like, wow, I wouldn't go back to. But I guess up to the individual.
Exactly. And as I said, there's a home for everyone. So not everyone, not everyone will love it, not everyone will get into it, and that's totally okay. I've still got athletes that compete in other federations and brands just because we know that that's their home. And I've got pro athletes that we've created in other brands, and they rock it and own it, but at the same time they still come to our shows and love supporting the rest of the team, because it is such a great show. They still appreciate what we've got to offer too, which is totally different.
So how did you get into the industry of competing?
You know what's funny? I actually started prepping for my very first sort of show when I was 19. I had a hairline stress fracture. I have hyperflexibility and hypermotion, and as we talked before, I alluded to, I did ballet. I was a ballerina, and I had basically had a stress fracture in my back from dance.
Was that from your toes being on your?
It was all of the hyperextension, and I guess for all the years I'd been doing it, it was just, you get like these little, it's like almost like grating bone on bone, and I just had this little stress fracture develop, and it took me out for a little while. And in the process of healing from that, I got into the gym and got into weights and obviously trying to build stability and strength and structural strength, and just started to fall in love with the journey that was sort of developing one's physique. You know, I started to see progress in a different way, and oh man, it's addictive. You don't need drugs. You just need to get to the gym. Like seriously, it's full on. And that started it for me. And I started prepping, and I stopped only because I obviously was, got involved in going to university, and there was a whole bunch of other things that took my prioritization of my time. And so didn't pursue it. Put it on the back burner, and then about 5-6 years later started again, got all the way to stage. And funny story, because I've always been an adrenaline junkie, I was prepping for the Kokoda, and so I was trekking with like weighted vests on my back. I was doing, it was something ridiculous. It was something like 20 something hours a week with weighted vests on my back around a full-time job. And I was studying my master's at the time. So this gives you an indication to the kind of person I am, right? Crazy. And I got a stress fracture in my foot from the weight bearing exercise I was doing on top of my weight training for the show that I was doing. And obviously, you're in a caloric deficit. Your bones aren't necessarily as strong as they probably should be. I wasn't as nutriently, provided for as I should have been for what I was doing, I think, at the time. Anyway, I got a stress fracture in my foot. So I couldn't put my heels on. So I was like 2 weeks out from a show, looking diced, looking great, trekking for the gods for Kokoda. And I got a stress fracture in my foot, and then I couldn't put my heels on. So that was me, game tapped out. Started prepping again, third time round, go lucky. I thought, no, didn't happen. 2 years later, tried again. And then found out that the show day ended up being on a major negotiation day for me in an international deal. So I wasn't even going to be in the country. It's like, oh my God, maybe this isn't for me. So I hung the heels up, and it wasn't until 9 months after I gave birth to Kella that I stepped on stage for the very first time and took everything out and just won every show I did until I went pro and then started losing for 3 years before I started winning again. So I say to everyone, that's looking to go pro, as an amateur, keep going. If you haven't won a show yet, keep going, because the whole purpose of this journey is personal development, professional development, physical development, right? The development of one's physique takes time. When I'm talking about these time frames, as I just said, I started when I was 19. I've been weightlifting, I've been body sculpting, so physically, aesthetically, designing my physique now for a long time, right? But I think people forget. I think people go, oh yeah, well, she just happened overnight. That success happened yesterday. Yeah, okay. How many failed attempts did I get before I finally got on stage? 3. Yeah. And for life reasons. So I'm sharing that part of my journey too, because I think it's important, because I see a lot of people get into this and life happens, right? But then they make a story about themselves, about the life situation. Well, I'm not good enough, and I can't do this, and I'm never going to make it. I'm like, no, it's just not right time, and timing is everything, right? So keep going. Don't give up, number one. Number two is, even as an amateur, keep pursuing the pursuit of, progression, not perfection, because that will eventually lead you to a professional status if that's what you're wanting. And then as a pro, don't be disheartened, because once you go pro, you're probably going to fail a fair few times before you win again, because it's like going from being, the great white in a goldfish tank to being the goldfish in the ocean, all over again, right? So you got to understand that as an amateur, you're being recognized for the professional capacity as a professional athlete in you, but you're not yet a professional. You're then going to stand on stage with people that have been a professional for about the last 3, sometimes 8 years. And you know what? They know a thing or two more than you. They've got a few more biceps, that have been worked than you have. And they've got a lot more, experience on the stage. So just keep at it. Don't give up. I have a lot of,
I think that's one thing they forget, is what you were just saying about the sculpting the body. They think, okay, I'm going to do this maybe for
12-week transformation and I'm going to win.
Yeah, exactly. And it's something that they just get a little bit more. And it's when you're competing at that level, it's
incremental levels of improvement. That's right.
That's how you get the perfect shapes. Yeah. That's how you get the good booty, the legs.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And I'm all about passion and enthusiasm, and people are coming through and they're fresh and they want it all yesterday, and I recognize that's just Gen Y too. I think just quietly. But look, I also think you've got to take that and channel it and understand that constructive feedback and opportunity for growth is what you should look for first, and then take that on board and constantly improve, right? And then even look, and I'm going to say this now, even at the top, this is my third world title. So I'm the current reigning WBFF Pro Fitness Diva World. And, even now walking into that stage, I was already sitting there with Christos going, okay, all right, so next season we've got to work on. And I was already pulling apart my physique, not pulling it apart and going, oh, that sucks. I'm not liking that. That's not good enough. I was pulling it apart and going, right, how awesome is this? I'm going to walk on stage with my best physique yet, but it's still not my best yet.
Yeah.
It's my best to date, but it's not the best I'll ever produce because there's still room for growth. Hell yes, that's awesome. That means I can still keep winning. Because the day,
a great mindset.
Yeah, well, the day that you turn around and go, okay, I've won, I'm the best, and I'm literally the best, then you know what? You may as well quit because you're going to get beaten next year. I guarantee you. If you step on that stage though and come off and go, yeah, hell yeah, I just won. I feel great about what my progress has been today. I'm going to celebrate the progress, but I'm not going to be complacent because I know I can grow in these areas. Then that's cool because that means you can keep winning.
I think you can apply that to all areas of life.
Yeah, 100%, definitely. Yeah. And that's why I say to people, if you take this sport. For a lot of people, it's going to be a sport. It's going to be a hobby. For me, it's my career. But if you take this sport for what it is, and it's an opportunity to grow yourself as a person, as a human, as an athlete, as a mother, a parent, a wife, a sister, whatever you are in life, it's going to expand your every area of life. If you take it for that, then you know what? It doesn't matter about the placing, the trophy, the whatever, you've won. You've won again and again. Why wouldn't you keep pursuing it? There's nothing people want to label it as an unhealthy sport. It's not unless you make it unhealthy, and it's not unless you make it something that the destination defines you rather than the journey. This is a journey sport.
Do you think that's more the person within themselves? Like,
correct.
I think, they're not in the right mind frame for that.
100%.
Right then.
Definitely. And so that's something we screen for now. It's something I've identified over the course of years in doing this. I've been coaching for a long time now. And I will actually say that we got Global Coach of the Year this year.
Yeah,
so it's the
nice.
first Australian and first female to ever win that.
Nice.
I know.
That's awesome.
I was actually more pumped about that than I was even when I win. I was like, yes, doing it for the girls.
That's
right.
It. That's awesome.
So I was pretty pumped about that. I've been chasing that one for a couple of years. So that was my big proud moment.
Yeah.
So, it's something I recognized is that whole premise of the mental preparedness. I think that optimizing health doesn't just mean physical health. It means mental and emotional too, right? So for me, a journey with me looks like that. A lot of the time I might get a girl come to me and recognize all the potential in them to physically be a professional athlete or physically be a great ambassador for the WBFF and physically have the ability to go pro eventually with development zones of X, Y, Z, whatever it is we agree upon. But I might turn around and say to them, okay, Jacinta, yeah, that's fine. We're going to do all these things and we will go pro, but it won't happen yet. And it might be 2020 and this is why. And today we're going to focus on this and this and this. And it might be just building the small habits that help develop the mindset and the resilience of a potential champion. Because, this is a mental sport. It's not a physical sport, very much so. And I think people lose sight of that. And now I screen for many things, but I screen for mental preparedness, mental strength. I screen for propensity for a disordered eating, disposition. And then we work through and around those things as well to make sure that we are not going down that route and that we are setting people up for success. And then, more than anything, it's about teaching everyone that we're working with about, having control over their own, I guess, actions, so responsibility and accountability. And that it's, as a coach, you sometimes get given all of the brunt of all of the responsibility and then all of the, brunt of the they didn't win situation, right? Yeah. So I'm a lot more focused these days as a coach on developing the onus is on them. I'm here to navigate the landscape that is them. They already have the map. They just don't know how to read it yet. So I'm there to basically be the guide on how to read it and then give them the tools and resources to make sure that they have a great trip through Amsterdam, right? Yeah. pretty much. But mainly it's identifying, at what level they're at and whether or not they're sound in the mental and emotional side before we start tackling, a lot of the other stuff that comes with getting to a stage and coming out of one because it's a minefield otherwise.
Yeah, because I think the mindset is huge, it's
massive.
Tremendous. Like I remember I don't know if any of you know, but Alicia coached me for
she was amazing. She was one that had all the potential to be a pro. We had that conversation actually, I think several times.
So I remember though, I don't know if I told you this, I had to go to 2 weddings during the prep. And so I rocked up.
So she blew the prep. No, I'm joking.
I fully did. I had my container and I went up to them and I got them to heat up
that
my
is
container.
The best. She's like the ideal client, guys. Like, I'm not even joking here.
And I like fully got bullied.
I see. And
time.
that sort of stuff happens. And this is also something that I guess, we work through with people too, is navigating not just, the minefield that is, I guess, food preparation, handling social settings, and also challenging their own internal beliefs about stuff, because that's a big part of it too. It's also handling the outcome that is people that don't understand what you're doing and why you're doing it too, because the people closest to you are often the ones that can either hold you back or hurt you the most, right?
Absolutely.
So we do a lot of work on bringing your loved ones on the journey with you. We do a lot of work on how to just say no too, because it's a tough one. A lot of people struggle with that.
I really liked it. I reckon it built my resilience.
Correct.
I was just like, nah, this is it. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But then it's interesting because in the mind for myself, I was like, am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? So then you start playing these games with yourself and you're like, what the fuck? Like, what
oh
do
my
I do?
God, babe, even at my level, we do it. Like,
yeah.
And the self-doubt, right? And this is the best part. Like, I think if you've got a coach who's completely authentic and completely open about their own stuff, and they don't try to be insta perfect, then you're gonna have a better experience. Because man, I share all my stories with my team, like all the fun. And you know what I'm like. I crack jokes. It's just how I think everyone should get through life, is with a great sense of humor. So I'm cracking jokes all the time about everything, the shit going sideways frequently, because it does. And for me, I think I tell the stories about when I have I call them prep brain farts. I have them often, man, it's the smelly methane bomb upstairs. I can tell you now. So I had this one moment, this is going back 2 years ago, I just didn't have a tan. So Christos at the time was in the room, and we often will, because this gives you an idea, an insight into, I guess, at my level, the things that we do, the 1% extra that makes us probably win. I would pose, but video it and then watch it back and critique it and review it and finesse it and perfect it, right? And this is before my back became a problem in the next year where I couldn't even do it, but we'll get onto that later. And at the time, my back was still an issue. So I was a little bit more critical, I guess, on myself, but I had no tan. We're in London. It was freezing cold. I was like hating on life for a moment. I did my routine for him. And I turned around and went, right, you can't post any of that. My ass is jiggling. It's not good enough. Blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, Jacinta, I'm going to send you this picture later. You'll giggle your butt off. I had a glute hamstring tie-in. Like, for anyone that doesn't know, you have a little V like this. There was no body fat anywhere. I couldn't even put on a fat suit and jiggled, I don't reckon. And at the time in my head, I was like, I clearly wasn't ready. I was small and skinny fat. I may as well be a bikini competitor. Like, that was where my head was at, right? So we all have those self-doubt moments. Even at my level, we do it. And I think for new first-time, competitors, it's even worse, because it's like first-time pregnancy. Everyone tells you it's going to be hard. You don't know how hard it is until the contraction starts. And you're like, let me go home and I'll just be pregnant forever. I don't want to go through this, right? Yeah. So it's the same deal with competition. I think, everyone tells you have a rough idea, but you have no freaking clue until you actually get through it, how tough it's going to be, how much the mental games kick in, how much friends and family can either be on the train, off the train, completely derail your Bombay Express on you if you're not careful. And then also you have no idea what your body can do, right? Because you've never been there before.
Yeah.
Once you've done it once though, you know what's coming. It's like a second pregnancy. You know it's going to hurt. You're not looking forward to it, but you actually you felt the contraction, so you're good. Like, your body can bounce back. You're not going to be fat forever. Like it's the same deal. So for whenever I have a mother and she's a first time competitor, I use those analogies. I'm like, first time pregnancy versus second. You've got this. You've been there. You've done this. You got this. It's a great way for them to understand what the hell is coming around the corner. And then for any of the newbies, well, look, I just try to give them as many of my funny Murphy's Law moments as I can, because again, it kind of makes them feel calmer. They're like, well, Jesus Christ, if you've had that happen, like, oh man, I could tell you some stories even from the last show that would make you laugh. Like, actually.
Tell us, share.
Oh man, like, okay, before everyone in my lineup is lined up.
Yeah.
Ready to go on stage, right? World champ still standing in the back room because my bikini was broken. And I'm like, my bikini's broken, I can't go out. No one would help me. Everyone's lined up because they're all thinking, yes, she's out of the running. Let's just go win now. Like, they're all secretly like, this is awesome. I'm inside the back room going, oh, what do we do? Like, I'm the world champ, but okay, you guys just go without me. I'll see you later. And then finally, Stephanie came in and fixed me. I'm running out onto like the lineup just as they were going up the back to get on stage. So I almost missed the whole thing because I'm thinking, yep, going to be rocking out with my boobs out. Bikini tops not going up. Anyway, Stephanie, who's one of my best friends and she's another world champion, she's in a different lineup. She came in, she was late, hair and curlers, going, babe, what's wrong? And I went, babe, look at my bikini top. Turn around, show. She goes, oh my God. She just drops everything she's carrying. She goes, right, we're going to do this. And this is an indication as to how great this brand is, right? We really do get in and help each other. Even though I'm joking about the rest of my division lining up, I don't blame them. They're all like stressed and getting ready to go on. And probably not even all of them knew what was happening with me backstage. I'm having my meltdown because my boobs are going to be hanging out. Anyway, Steph comes in. She does this makeshift fix, right? And the whole time I'm running back to go backstage, I'm thinking in my head, oh my God, please don't come undone. Please don't show everyone nipples in the middle of the live stream because it's going to be really embarrassing. I'm going to be like the world champ with the extra, right? Anyway, and I say to my girls all the time too, right? Composure is everything, okay? You need to take an alter ego and take to the stage and channel and park any self-doubt you've got and look like you've got none from the minute you step on that stage. Now, I can tell you, you can go back and watch my performance. You would not know that I was running up, readjusting my boobs, hoping to God the little makeshift fix we did on my bikini was going to work. Walked on stage, you would not even known that had been going on backstage literally seconds beforehand because as I walked on stage, I was like, right, we've got time to fix this later. We're here. And that was it. So owned the stage, got off stage, and Stephanie was walking up to get on stage for her lineup. She goes, how'd you go, babe? I have no idea. I think I stuffed it, but at least my boobs didn't come out. So funny. That was number one for the day. There was more. I then, as anyone watching that has ever done anything to do with a show, and definitely anyone that's in a figure level, because our fitness is a little bit fuller and we actually do some manipulation with carbohydrates, and your bikini level competitors wouldn't necessarily do this. So as the course of the day goes on, that was in the morning qualifying round. In the evening, by then my bikini had been fixed, so I was fine. Boobs were not even a problem. By the evening show though, I had carved up more. So all of a sudden my lats had grown more because they're all filled out, you know, with every gram of carb, you got 2 point something grams of water that comes into the muscle belly. So you get full and jacked and hard and veins everywhere. Anyway, my lats had come out. So we had an opening gala dress round. I bought this beautiful dress, you know, because we are like the feature piece of the big crown and everything. And Tiffany, one of the girls on my team, was zipping my dress up. She's zipping it up. Anyway, it was already one of those dresses where, you know, you get to the point and it's got that little bit, you've got to really jiggle and you're sucking everything in. We were doing that part, right? Yeah. Anyway, she gets it up, gets to the top. And as she gets to the top, it was so funny. The whole team's around and everyone just went and looked at me because you hear this little we were due on stage in 2 fucking seconds, right? And I'm standing there, I'm like, oh my God. And Tiffany goes, it's not broken. Oh, what just happened? She goes, you know the little clip that goes to the top of like the actual zip? She goes, that's just come off. So anyway, she gets it up and then I just stand as I breathe, the whole thing, my lats would come out, the whole thing, and the zip would just go down my back. I'm like, okay, great. So I'm going to be boobs out again. So I'm out the back cracking jokes about that I'm like, you know, the world with the mostest. And then I've got one of my other girls in the team. Bless her, right? This is what our team is like. And this is why I love my Angels. And this is why we won Team of the Year last year. Because this is what we're like. We're one big, massive family. So my whole team basically came around. Everyone's trying to hold it together. They're all trying to get dressed because we've all got the gala together, right? It's just the crowns go out together. Anyway, Karen, another girl who's in the transformation division in our team who makes bikinis, she goes, babe, it's okay. I got this. I'm going to sew you into your dress. And I'm like, fuck. Okay. I've got 5 minutes to get off this stage into the room and get my costume on. You know what it's like to get theme wear on. It's a nightmare. So I'm like literally going, okay, we've got this. So anyway, Karen's standing there. We've got 2 of the girls holding me up. Tiffany's holding my zip up and she's sewing me into my dress. And then at the end, I stopped and went, "Are we good?" And she goes, "Yep." And I went, "It's not going to come undone." She goes, "Nope." And I went, "I freaking hope not," because it was a sweetheart dress. I literally would have been boozed out. So I'm like, "Oh my God. Okay, I'm trusting you, Karen." She goes, "No, we got this, babe. We got this. It's not going to come undone." Okay. Yeah. So we got the whole angels are cheering. We're doing this dance. We're running out. We're all late for the gala. I slip in behind the last of the crowns. I'm like, "Yeah, okay, fine." Sweating because you've just been stressing about everything. And the whole time I'm walking with my dress, smiling, I'm thinking in the back of my head, please don't break. Please don't break. Please don't break. Then we get off. I almost fall down the stairs on my train and my gown, run out the back. Karen's running out to follow me, trying to cut me out. So then she's cutting me out of this dress. Then I'm half naked running from one room to another to get into this costume. Oh my God. So anyway, that was my second Murphy's Law for the day. So this is what I mean. This stuff happens, right?
But that's what makes
at all levels. And it's, you know what? I think it's fun. Like I look back on it now and I think that was actually pretty funny. Like I was actually laughing the whole way through. We've got pictures. And I say to the girls, quick, take pictures. This is too funny. I need evidence of this later. So we've got pictures of like my gown. We've got pictures of her behind me with it, like where it's sewed up. And all we can see is like all the lumps of my back, my muscles and these lats that come out of the top of this dress. I'm like, it could have been a dress where the lats held it up. So at least my lats made sense right now. But anyway, my waist looks small, so I was happy. That, for take home for anyone listening, that's the purpose of having lats. Make your waist look smaller.
Absolutely.
So anyway, there's some of the things that happen. And as you can see, you know, you've got a great backstage environment where people sort of band together and help each other. And we had fun. It was funny. Like we were cracking jokes about it for days later.
Yeah. It is awesome. Like the environment. And I never met anyone when I went backstage, and I was meeting everybody, and then it was like, people are just so beautiful.
And they are, and they really do endorse that too. They encourage that. Look, my best friends across the whole planet, Stephanie, for example, she's absolutely one of my all-time bestest mates. And, you know, she lives in America. I've got two other really good best friends. One's in Saudi Arabia, one's in the UK. Like wherever I go, I have a couch to sleep on and a training partner. So I'm set, right? Or someone that can sew me into my dress. Yeah. Either way, I'm happy. I'm guaranteed to be fed, sleeping, trained, and not have my boobs hanging out. Yeah. Winning. Winning at life.
Definitely. So tell us, you mentioned you're back before. What happened in 2015?
So for anyone that hasn't followed me, doesn't know anything about me, God save you, you do now. You know a lot about my chest area. I broke my back in 2015, straight after my 2015 Worlds, which was my second Worlds. And as I said before, you know, once you become pro, it's the first couple of shows you do, you don't win. It's your opportunity to take constructive feedback, go away and improve, right? So I'm getting to the point of the broken back with this conversation, had taken my very first pro debut and gone, okay, my legs need serious thickening up. So I went and I pretty much overtrained legs for a solid year to develop the thickness I needed the next year. Yeah. And in doing so, compromised, I guess, what was already a predisposition for a weak zone in my lumbar with my you know, previous stress fractures that I'd had, you know, sort of like a decade prior. And I was in recovery phase post a show. So that's when you're not necessarily at your strongest. You're only just building back up to a maintenance level of calories. You're still really quite from a strength point of view, you know, you're still not at your full max reps. You know, you're really restoring your whole level of homeostasis, and your whole hormonal balance was really just, you know, coming back into place. And so, you know, I wasn't at my strongest, for starters. And as we mentioned earlier in the podcast, I had a stress fracture in my foot leading into a show because, again, it's at that treacherous point where, you know, you're not at your strongest. There's a whole bunch of things that, you know, you've got to look out for. Anyway, I was doing my first proper squat session. It was 2 weeks post, and I had good form, had warmed up, good technique, you know, no issues there. I was just in a warm-up set, so I only had 60 kilos on my back at the bottom of the range in the second rep, crack. Back, barbell came off my back, I'm laying on the ground, and all I could think was, yeah, okay, I just fucked myself. Like,
could you hear it?
Yeah, you heard it across the room. So my girlfriend that was in the gym with me, it's a funny story to this too. I'm surrounded by humor, right? Yeah. So the funny story of this was my girlfriend come over, she's carrying me out, can't move, can't walk. I think it's just hit me, pain's just kicked in. I start like having a cry. walk into the basketball court. So where we're at, let me paint the picture. We're in Canberra. We're in a big high school auditorium, which it's a school that actually has like a lot of, I guess, high level athlete students, right? So it actually has this amazing gym and this amazing just court, like whole set of courts. The boys, Christos and his brother and all the boys were playing basketball. And when we first arrived, they're like, come play ball with us, Ali. Nick's like, come play ball. And I went, nah, bro, I'm going to go. I want to go lift. I'm all about the lift. And Christos was like, nah, come play ball. I went, nah, I think I'm going to lift. Yeah. It's been 2 weeks. I'm itching to get into it. I want to go make the improvements for next season. I'm going to go lift. Wow. Didn't hear the end of it. She pulls me in. I'm literally messed up. He looks at us and the first thing he says is, fucking told you should have played ball. And that's been the running joke ever since. I've suffered daily chronic pain. And whenever I'm at my worst, this shithead will turn around and go, should have bloody played ball. Told you should have played ball. Like, okay, enough of the basketball jokes. But that's what happened. So
and how did you the recover process is huge.
It was massive, babe. Like I was in a brace for 3 months and literally would wear a supporting brace for the next sort of 6 months after that. I had pars fractures L4, L5 on the actual. So another bad story. And this gets into the psychosomatic side of how I healed my chronic daily pain this year because I suffered from pain from when I first did the break until probably February of this year, chronic daily pain. Like I'm talking to the point where I couldn't bend down. I couldn't put my shoelaces on. There were days where I couldn't dress myself and days where I just couldn't even stand up. Like it was that bad. And what I'd done was pars fractures L4, L5, major bilateral bulging disc structure. So basically you've got, discs that sit in between every single, the vertebrae. Yeah. And they're like a shock absorber, fluidy sac. Like they basically protect your spine, protect your back. And everyone in the planet pretty much will have some form of either degeneration or a little bit of issue with their discs. That's very common. But for most people, they'll never have a symptom or a sign of it, right? Yeah. So if you do go and get an MRI on your back, you'll be healthy. Like if we send you in tomorrow, there's a point to my story, and you got an MRI, they probably say, oh, Jacinta, oh my God, you've got this and this and this and this going on, this, that. Now you could be fine, physically fine. You don't have even a sign of anything going on with your back. And then all of a sudden you'll walk out of that and all of a sudden your brain will go, oh my God, okay, well, fuck, there's something wrong with me. And then the brain will start presenting into your body stuff, right? Yeah. So my chronic daily pain, which I held on to for about 2 years more than I probably needed to or should have, was a protection mechanism. And it stems from the very moment I did my back into that first MRI where the radiologist or whatever you call them, if they've got a different name, basically the technician doing the MRI had me in, they told me it was going to be 20 minutes. It took nearly an hour. Christos is out there waiting. And this guy's like, okay, puts me through and does whatever. And they're not supposed to say anything to you, but they sometimes do. And then he goes, all right, okay, I need to do something extra because this is, I need to get some more footage. And it's the way he said it in the tone, right? And I'm like, okay. And I'm laying, if anyone's ever been in an MRI, like you're fully enclosed and there's boom, 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 boom. That's all you can hear. It's fucking scary, right? I'm laying there and I'm hurting and everything's like whatever. And I'm laying there and thinking this feels like more than 20 minutes. And it actually had been, like I said, nearly an hour. And then he pulls me out and he goes, right, I'm on the phone to the doctor. I need to put this stuff in your arm. I need to put dye in you and we need to go back in and we need to get, this other area. And I'm like, okay, this sounds like really full on. What have I done to myself? And I've said to him, is it bad? And he looks at me and he goes, well, it's not good. And I'm like, fuck, okay, shit, this is actually really bad. So I'm laying there. So I'm already telling myself this story that, right, in my head, like, wow, okay, I can overcome anything type person. And I'm laying there thinking, man, this is it, game over. I'm checking out, like I'm done for. Like this is the story I've got in my head. He's putting dye on my arm. I may as well go commit suicide. No, I'm joking. I should never say that. But I was like, okay, game over. I'm never going to lift again. Like that's actually the story I told myself in that room, in that little dun, 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 dun moment. And then I go to see the sports medicine doctor afterwards, and they were like, yeah, this is like horrible. You've done you've done a great job. I'm like, well, I know I always do everything well, but this is ridiculous. I shouldn't break my back the best. Like what have I done? Anyway, they basically were very much of the mindset that, you're probably going to need surgery and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, I think that it slowed down my process of healing because you really do hang on to the words of everything everyone says. So whenever you've been, raised as a child and you get told by your parent, watch what you say because it has impact, that never truer words have been spoken than when it's around an injury, because it can be the defining moment of the story you tell yourself of what that means. And it can be the thing that either makes you go, right, well, I'm never going to do this again. That's it. I'm done. I'm out. Or you can be a stubborn mule like me and go, yep, right. You can't tell me I won't squat. I won't squat. That's fine. I'm going to go win anyway. And I'm going to do it doing leg press. And that's pretty much what I did. So I've recovered and rehabbed around this. Yeah. Continue to have chronic daily pain though for the next 3 years of my life. Progressive periods where it would be worse or less. Yeah. Well, sorry, worse or yeah. It would either be like heightened to the point where I would actually have to take a Valium or have to take, God, I've just got a mental blank on the name of the anti-inflammatory. It was the most strongest one you can get. Celebrex. I'd have to be taking those. Yeah. Or then I'd be like not taking anything but still be unable to tie my shoelace, right? So I went through that for the next 3 years. But I was being a stubborn mule and I was like, right, well, I'm not gonna give up. Like I'm gonna do this just to prove to myself and everyone else that you can do it anyway. Yeah. So then I went and I won my first show using blood flow restriction bands because I couldn't lift properly, but I wanted to get as much gains as I could with limited movement and Pilates and literally band work. Like I was doing rehabilitative band work. And we did that leading into my very first win, which was the 2016 Atlantic City Miss USA title. And then they said to me, you want to come and do the LA show? And I was like, okay, I don't know how much I can improve because I knew that I couldn't lift properly and I knew I couldn't squat or deadlift, right? So I was like, okay, all right. So I still can't squat, still can't deadlift. I'm still really in all this pain, but okay, if you want me to come, I'm coming. So I turned to Chris and go, we just need like 2% improvement. So let's go away and do whatever we got to do to get the 2%. So we went away and we did what we could do. And I came in leaner and then I won the LA Miss USA title in April of 2017.
Was that from gaining or from nutrition?
I think it's more so from nutrition at that point because there wasn't much that I could do physically in that time frame because I couldn't really reverse out, go back up into a surplus and get some growth. It was more about diet breaking, rebooting my, situation, mitigating adaptation, and then continuing my deficit through to stage. That's pretty much what we did. Won that next show, still people don't know or realize, unable to put my heels on backstage by myself, like struggling to pose practice because I couldn't, move properly. All of that was all still going on. Then obviously continued to progressively heal a little bit, and be able to do a little bit more in the gym to winning my first world championship, which was the one that I talked about, which was in the UK in 2017, where I was an idiot and thought that I had a jiggly bum, but I had glute hamstrings tie in. Retard. Prep fart. Anyway,
you look great. I've seen the pictures.
Yeah, look, amazing. I'm so proud of myself because man, I did stuff like I look back on it now and I remember the pain I was in and I remember the days where I'd go to the gym and I couldn't even lift a weight because I couldn't, like it would put pressure on my lower back, it was bad. And I think about that now and I'm like, how the hell did I do it? Like actually, right? But at the time I refused to give up and I, for the first time in my life, became very open on social media about my journey and about my pitfalls and my downfalls. And I shared everything, right? Which up until then I'd been a little bit, probably a little bit more private about stuff because I had thought that it showed vulnerability and vulnerability was a weakness. And I'd really believed for a long time, and this also has part and parcel in my healing process, that vulnerability was what was going to stop me from winning, not allow me to win. And when I stepped into the space where I went, okay, you know what, sod it. I'm going to just be me or me. You don't like it. Sorry about that. Unfollow me. So I just did. And the more that I actually started to share my story and the more that I actually started to express things that were going on, and then it became even deeper again this year when I started dealing with the psychosomatic side of it, the more I improved and the more that I could do and the better things became. And there's a big link between this. Like when I talk about the fact that, these health professionals in the early stages of my condition really did anchor in me some fear, some deep-seated fear and some deep-seated conclusions that if I had have chosen to believe them could have completely, we wouldn't be sitting here today. I wouldn't be sitting here with 5 crowns. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if I had have listened to them back then. But I wanted to defy them because I'm just a stubborn bitch like that. No one can tell me no because I'll find a way around it. So I did. But then I decided, okay, going around it is taking me, you know, so much more energy and effort, but it's also not actually fixing my problem, right? And it was when I met Pay, this physiotherapist in Sydney who's amazing. She's my go-to. In December of last year, through my very good friend Paolo, who ended up coaching me, that everything changed. And it changed because, and this is the magic in it, she's a physiotherapist who had actually had the exact same injury I had, who's now little powerlifting champion. She's a dynamo.
Wow.
And I looked at her and went, what do you mean you broke your back? She goes, oh yeah. Like, and she gives it to me in this, she's got this brutal delivery where she's really she just says it how it is. Yeah. Little Asian woman. She's amazing. Yeah. And so I connected with her straight away because I'm like, yeah, I like you. Just give it to me straight. I like you. And she goes, yeah. And she just looks at me. She goes, there is no reason that you cannot bend down, touch your toes. And I looked at her and I went, there is a lot of reasons. And it goes like this. I can't move. And she goes, there is no reason. There's nothing stopping you. It's all in here. And she points to my head and I'm looking at her going, don't you fucking tell me I'm making this shit up, okay? Yeah. She goes, and that's when then she told me, she goes, I have had this. I have broken my back. Anyway, she gave me the story and I'm looking at it. So it was just credibility for me, right? I'm looking at it and I'm watching her like throwing shit around, throwing me around. I'm like, okay, all right, maybe I'm going to listen to what you have to say. She's like 40 something kilos too, mind you. So, and then I looked at her and I went, all right, okay. She goes to me, this is because I then started, you know, digging. Okay, well then what did you do? How did you fix it? Like, what do you mean? And she goes, I powerlift. And I went, and I'm looking at her, I went, like, you're semi-aggressive, passive-aggressive. I kind of fucking like it. And I believe you powerlift. You probably powerlift me right now. and so me being me, I'm cracking jokes. That's how I deal with everything. And she's going, like, seriously, bend over. Like this. And you can picture this room, right? And I'm like, busted. I'm like a busted custard tart on the ground, right? And she's like, bend over. Like little Mr. Miyagi. I'm going, say what? And she goes, bend over. And I went, okay. And the funny thing was, I stood up and I went like this. She goes, what the fuck is that? And I went, I'm bending over. And it was literally my chin on my chest. And I think I might have had my traps roll forward a little bit if I was like, if that was a good day. She goes, this is pathetic. And I went, tell me about it, mate. I've been living with this for 3 years. She goes, bend over, touch your toes. And I went, Pay, I will slap you. I can't. Like, this is as good as I've got. And she goes, right, get up on the table. Get up on the table. She literally just like lifted my leg up, pinched a few things, pushed a few things, prodded a few things. She stood me up and she goes, now, bend over. She's give me your hand. Grab my hand. Paolo's in a corner. Amir's in a corner. Both of them are looking at her. She just grabs me, grabs my hand, grabs my head, and just boom, takes my hand to the ground. Straight to the ground. And I just remember at the time in my heart like jumped out of my chest. I think Paolo literally had a cardiac arrest and Amir's gone, and that's all I can hear was Amir going, I'm thinking, fuck, okay, I'm not going to walk again ever. And then all of a sudden I stood up and I went, I just touched the ground. Like I had just won the title for the first time, right? I'm like, I just touched the ground. I'm pretty. What's your accomplishment today? What are you doing with your life? I just touched the ground. And these boys were literally nearly dying. Like, I think they were just waiting. Both of them hadn't even inhaled again. They're wondering what I'm about to do. And I've just stopped and looked at her and went, how the fuck did you do that? She goes, do it again. I'm not going to help you. And then I bent forward and I went literally 3/4 of the way down. I just stood up and I just looked at her and went, what did you just do to me? And she goes, what she had done on the table, while she had me on the table prodding and pulling and doing a few things, was she just asked me a series of some questions. Yeah. I didn't really realize what she was doing at the time, but I know now. And she was getting me to I was releasing some stuff that obviously I'd been holding on to. So it was really quite interesting. And now I look back and I'm like, oh, wow, why I'm like smart. How did I not see this, right? So
do you remember what she was asking you?
I can't now, you know, and this is the scary part, right? Is that quite often the things that keep you in these perpetual states of pain or prevent you from moving beyond something physical is because it's really a simple thing that you've just put in your own way and blown it up like Mount Everest. And that's exactly what it was like. It was like every day I had to get up and climb Mount fucking Everest just to get through my day, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is Mount Everest was really like an anthill that I should have stood on as I touched the ground, like quite literally. So the funniest thing was she goes, okay, we've got to reprogram, we've got to rewire your brain. And stop it from stopping itself, right? She's like, there is nothing wrong with you right now. And I'm like, okay, well, this is different. I've got now a specialist telling me there's nothing wrong with you versus someone telling me you're going to need surgery. You're never going to do this again. You're never going to squat and deadlift. She goes, there is nothing stopping you squatting and deadlifting. So the story gets better. Like I walked in, I showed you what my bending down was. Within an hour, she had me downstairs and she goes, we're fucking squatting. I looked at her and went, you're fucking joking. I'll see you outside for a cup of coffee when you're done squatting. Remember, you remember the story where I said I broke my back under a squat, right? And she goes, yep, get ready. And she hands me a broomstick. And I'm like, what am I doing with this? And she goes, get it on your back and start squatting. And I went, okay. My idea of a squat, it was so pathetic. It was so abysmal. I like literally, I think I bent my knees like 2 degrees. And she's like, she goes, okay, put the broomstick down. And then we started these desensitization things where she had me literally just hang, let my head carry the weight of my body down. And then she had me it looked like this. I was going like this as I was going down. So I was upside down and literally what it was it was shimmying my back like this with either hand till my hands would touch the ground.
Yeah.
So she goes to me, whenever you start feeling pulling in the back, whenever you start feeling that, because it would feel like it was jammed, like it was like locked on like this, like I just couldn't move it at all. It was like there was a winch in there and it just was not letting me down, right? That was the feeling inside my body. She goes, whenever you feel that, immediately drop into this. So for the next like 3-4 weeks, I'd be in the middle of the shopping center at Westfield and all of a sudden I'd hand him my wallet and be like, hand him the wallet and the car keys. And I'm like, just wait a minute. He'd be like, what are you doing? And I'd just start shimmying. People would be stopping and looking at me. I'm like, zero fucks given. I'm fixing my back. Yeah. I can touch the ground. What are you doing with your life? Right? That's exactly what it would be like. I'd be so proud of myself for touching the ground, right?
Yeah.
So these desensitization things were just repatterning, reprogramming, but it goes beyond that. That was the first part of the process, was teaching my body that I could do hip flexion and hip extension, right? Yeah. That hip flexion, hip extension was possible.
Yeah.
End of story. Teaching my brain, let go.
Yeah.
You don't have to protect me anymore. I'm not in danger anymore. I had to start telling myself this because my body effectively for 3 years was just in a protection mechanism. It was trying to save me. So we have fight or flight that goes on in the body where the body basically will respond to a scenario where it feels like it's under threat. And so for a lot of people, stress, emotional trauma, mental trauma can result in a physical protection strategy by the body to protect you from threat. So it might be migraines. It might be, wry neck where you can't move your neck because you've underneath that much stress and pressure, the body basically locks your neck out. It can be lower back pain. It can be hip pain, knee pain. It can be irritable bowel syndrome. That can actually be all from your head and from your stress, not necessarily your GI. It's amazing. It's phenomenal. So for anyone that hasn't done it, look at the book called The Divided Mind by Dr. John Sarno. A lot of the work that I did was following the TMS field, where it's basically about integration of mind-body connection and understanding that there might be stuff that's going on through your patterns of firing that's suppressing your firing from doing what it should be doing and allowing the body to do what it should be doing safely by an emotional blockage or by a mental blockage, right? And so mine was partially emotional, part mental. And, I had been going through a series of personal things for the course of better part of 4 to 5 years with a very messy, marriage breakdown, a whole bunch of stuff going on with, changes in business, changes in my life. And I hadn't talked about any of it. And I hadn't, obviously resolved any of it internally. And there was a whole bunch of stuff where you hang on to stuff where you go, personal guilt, or you could have done things better, or you could have changed things, or, and then just things going on in your businesses over the course of time where you go, that was my fault, or that could have been. And so you take these things on and you harbor them, right? you don't actually address them or deal with them or share them. And so for me, a lot of it was just going through the process of being like, mate, I'm sweet. I'm good. I own my part in this or that or that. I'm good with who I've become as a result of the lessons and the learnings. And just actually having self-acceptance, self-compassion, self-love, and more importantly, acknowledging that vulnerability is not weakness, it's actually strength. And sitting inside of vulnerability and sharing vulnerability makes you not only relatable and real, but also it makes you a leader, and it makes you someone that can actually help others change lives and go through their own dark paths or their own, physical symptoms where their protection mechanisms are on for threat, because they don't know how to do that. It basically gives you the ability to be a navigator and, like I said before, help someone read their own map, right? So I just basically learned how to read my map better. And I connected in with my mind, to body connection greater. And then I just did a lot of work on releasing emotional blockages and mental barriers that I had been getting in my own way of. And then before you knew it, on that day, we moved past the broomstick, moved past the desensitization stuff, and I squatted 60 kilos. No, sorry, I squatted 50 kilos. It was only 10 kilos less than what I broke my back on. 2 weeks later, I squatted the 60 kilos, and that was the biggest mental barrier for me to break through. 3 weeks after that, I had 80 kilos on my back.
Oh my God.
And within 3 months, I said goodbye to daily chronic pain. So I did a few things though. I also, I had this, anyone that's followed me on Instagram back then would remember, where I was talking about banana. So I did word association, where I changed the conversations from, pain and break and broken and messed to, I had fun labels. So I called my pain banana. Instead of dealing with pain, I was peeling my banana every day with my little desensitization things in the middle of Westfields and everything else I was doing. And so then all of a sudden I had all my followers that got in on the journey with me. And so, we had, people cracking jokes about banana. I'd have people tagging me in their stories about their journeys and them peeling their bananas. And then I'd have, I would be talking about where I'd color code my days. So every day I'd start color coding my day, and I'd be practicing gratitude and practicing, meditation and working on my parasympathetic nervous system, because my central nervous system basically was just fried. It was just in overdrive. And I gave you the analogy when we were offline about, it's like having the fire alarm in your house go off. There's a fire burning. You go outside, you're waiting outside for a while, and then they tell you to go back inside. You go back inside, there's still a fire burning and the alarm stays on, but no fire brigade comes, and then you continue living in that house. That's exactly what it was like for me, right? Yeah. So I had to, first of all, put the fire out, which was connecting back into my body, teaching my body that certain patterns of movement, like brushing my teeth and putting my shoes on, were not painful, and I didn't need to fear them. So I did that through the word association, through expressive writing, through starting to express, stuff that had been going on for me. And then once that sort of started to work and the fire was put out and I wasn't getting as much of the symptoms, and I'd gone from having all, red days, red hot, down to more blue and green being in the middle. Yeah. I'd have more blue and green days, and to the point where then I had all blue days. And so then I had all my followers giving me all their color-coded days, and everyone was on this journey with me. So it was awesome, because then that, the vulnerability thing became a strength for me. So then I viewed that differently too, which then again further enhanced, my ability to go through the process of healing. So once that happened, then I had to turn the alarm off. So then it was the way I viewed things, the way I felt about things, the conversations I was having with myself and with others. And so all of those things started to change. And it took 6 months to get to the point where I was seriously banana free.
And I think too, because it's such a big thing and you're just breaking it down and you're mastering a little
3
bit.
years of it, right? So it's like weight loss. You don't go and smash your body for years and put on all this excess body weight and then expect it to come off in 2 weeks. It doesn't happen like that, right? You've been carrying that weight for a while. Respect, it's going to take a little while for it to come off, okay? So it's the same deal when you're dealing with injury, trauma, pain, emotional pain, or mental pain too. You've been carrying the burden for a long time. You got to go easy on yourself. You've got to practice self-compassion, and you've got to practice patience and nurturing of the journey it takes to actually heal, because it is a journey, a massive journey, and it's daunting, and it's confronting, and it's challenging, and it's probably the most confronting and challenging thing I've ever had. It was more challenging confronting than the break itself, dealing with all that other stuff, but best thing I ever did.
And I think too, because you probably weren't aware of it.
No, not at all.
And
I had
that's
no
probably-
freaking idea until this little bloody Chinese Asian thing comes and starts poking me and telling me to get my ass to the ground. Like, what do you mean? And then, you know, the good thing was that she's so awesome. She had been through all of this and she had dealt with it. And then she'd be like, in the first 2 months, it was so confronting. I'd have days where all of a sudden it would be like the pain would be worse. I felt like the whole house was burning down and I was sitting in the ashes, right? And I'd ring her up and I'd be crying and I'd be in the middle of a Westfield on a friggin' stool because I'd been trying to do my shopping and I couldn't even push the trolley anymore, right? And I'd be crying and she'd be on the phone to me going, okay, just breathe. So I went through a lot of breath work and got right into the process of diaphragmatic breathing to actually let my body know that it's actually calm, it's in a safe space. So she'd talk me through all this. She was amazing. She's way more than just a physio, this woman. And she actually, you know, would calm me down initially, and then I would start learning coping mechanisms of how to self-soothe and do this for myself. Like and it was a big deal for me to actually sit there and go, I'm not okay. I need help, and reach out to someone, because I'd never done that in my life. So that was actually a big part of the healing process too, was going, it's totally okay. It's totally okay to need help. It's totally okay to be vulnerable. It's totally okay to not have all your shit together, and that's fine. You know,
and like you said, it makes you stronger because you learn more about yourself.
It so does. And it also, you learn more about other people too, because
and I think you will get confronted with this same thing until you learn this lesson.
100%. And like I said to you offline, I pick up now when a situation is going down and how I'm feeling about it by what my body tells me, because I'll have like a pull in my hamstring or a burning in my leg, or I'll get a little bit of like, you know, that locking feeling in that lower back. So, because that's what my symptoms were like. It was like, okay, I couldn't walk properly because the way that my nerve was being pinched into, it sent my left leg, rendered it almost like useless. Like I'd be numb. It would be like walking with a handbrake on, and my left leg was my handbrake. And the left leg actually, there is metaphysical links to moving forward, letting go of past. So it's really quite interesting, because when you start looking then into the metaphysical signs of your symptoms combined then with, you know, the psychosomatic side, there was a whole bunch of stuff for me. And then all of a sudden it just all started coming together, and then all these blockages that were in my life just started coming together too. So the more that I was healing myself and letting go of things, the more the stuff that was a problem in my life started to actually heal and resolve itself too. It was so fascinating. And then I fell in love with like the fascination of all this stuff and how it was working, and just the way of, you know, the body, the mind, the universe itself was just, it was incredible. Liberating. And for me too, you know, I think it really did break down barriers that I had of what it meant to be a role model or a leader too in this industry. And that, you know, I had never been that person that grew my following of being all, you know, tits and ass and provocation and sexualization. I've never believed in that. I always wanted to be known for being of substance, but it made me even more aware that people with longevity in this industry are the people that are the most raw and the most real. And if you've got, you know, a story that you're willing to share with people at its most rawest, then I think you know, you're actually going to be someone that can change lives. And so for me, it took away that whole premise of me always having to be perfect, always having to, you know, not post anything that wasn't, you know, 100% positive, or you know what I mean? Like it took all of that away, and it gave me the ability to just have my voice without it being masked, without it being volume turned up, volume turned down. I could just be exactly that.
Just be you.
Yeah. And that's the most liberating feeling that you can have on the planet, really.
Yeah. And beautiful too for everybody that follows you, because they're like, wow, it's just her. This is really
Yeah, well, it's very true. I don't profess to be anything I'm not. And I think, you know, I used to always say there's nothing more disappointing than when you meet someone you've been following for a long time and you meet them in real life and you're like, whoa, that was so not what I was expecting.
Yeah, agreed.
Whereas the biggest thing I get is, oh God, you're much shorter than I thought you were. Or you're actually really little. And I'm like, I don't know whether to be offended or whether to take that as a compliment. And, you know, Instagram adds 15 pounds, people, of jacked muscle.
So I want to tell everyone about comp. Like, what is actually involved as a competitor?
Oh my God, like what's
like
not?
I know we brushed over it a little bit before, but tell me, like, I don't know if you've never done a comp. I know there's lots of food involved.
There is
is it really crucial that you eat exactly what you're told to eat?
Yeah,
what you train.
I think in the early days, yeah, I think that because you've got to look at every individual as an individual, and you've got to look at their, nutritional intelligence. You've got to look at their experience level. You've got to look at their mind-body connection capacity before you can gauge whether or not they've got the ability to be, more flexible or not, right? Like someone like me, I can be very flexible with my approach most of the way through to stage now. But in the final 6 weeks, man, yeah, it's like volume is turned right up. Like food is to the gram. There is a lot less, flying by the seat of my pants on any regard. Like if I'm in an environment where I can't make something for myself, I will have to fast until I can, because you just can't trust the way things are, prepared. Yeah. But for a complete newbie coming through, yeah, it's going to look a lot more like my 6 weeks for a lot longer, but just because, yeah, you are so new to it, and your ability to make decisions on food is you're still learning all of those things, but you will learn those things. And that the best part about it is that you do get more knowledge around food and what, works for you, what doesn't, how to best fuel your body, how to manipulate things in order to get a change in your body. Like it's very cool from that level.
I think, yeah, when I did it, I learned so much about like the actual, when you have food and the energy that you have.
Correct.
And then when you didn't have as much food and you were like, oh my God, like it's a real mental challenge now. I have to push myself and then I'm like, oh man, I just want more food. Like I just learned so much about.
And that's actually a very natural part of dieting, is that we actually release, so hormones get affected when there is a release of certain hormones, the ones responsible for hunger and appetite and satiety. And as you go deeper into a deficit, the natural reaction of the body is actually to increase the hunger levels, because it's like, you're starving me, bitch, feed me. So competition, I always joke about it with people, is a game of strategically starving oneself, because that's exactly essentially what it is. But if you're in good hands, or you're schooled enough in what you're doing, you're actually doing it as safely as possible with optimal health in mind, right? So I always tell the analogy that's like Mount Everest, and it's going to the summit, right? You can live at base camp. It's still treacherous. It's still not fun. There's still a whole bunch of, terrain that, can be dangerous for you. I say that base camp's about 6 weeks out. And then from 6 weeks to stage, it's like trekking to the summit, putting your flag up, getting the fuck back down before you die. Like literally, you can't stay stage lean, because it's like summit level treachery. There are so many things that go on at that level of lean that, it's not safe to be at that level for long periods of time. Well, definitely not at a fitness or a figure level anyway. So
like what? Like I know like the hormones are changed.
Yeah, exactly. It's to do with hormones. It's to do with, your metabolic state. It's like things will shut down because you're not giving enough energy to the body. So it will shut down what it does in certain body parts just to survive. It sounds scary, but that's kind of like what it's like. But as scary as that sounds, it's literally not for long. It's for a small space of time, and for a bikini competitor, it's not like that at all. Like you guys are, still carrying decent levels of safe space, body fat levels. It's not.
So leading into that week, you like, what's the I know everyone cuts down. So explain dehydration.
Well, you want to not be too dehydrated at all. And, look, bikini competitors don't necessarily have to manipulate much when it comes to food. They should really just come in condition and be there, right? And when you're at a fitness level, though, we do play with, as I alluded to before, the morning show and the evening show and my lats coming out, we do play with carbohydrates, and we do, manipulate, I guess, the consumption of water with your carbohydrate to have, volumization basically of your muscle bellies. So and that's what gives you the illusion of being cut, dry, vascular, full, and I guess, that whole premise of being, semi-dehydrated. You will have the old bodybuilding ways where they will do, and like some of the guys in bodybuilding and IFBB, they will do like these water loads of like 10 and 15 liters of water, like for days leading in, and then they cut water and take diuretics and all sorts of stuff. We don't do that, thank God, because it's more of a modeling show and you got to look aesthetic and pretty.
Yeah.
Not like a leather handbag that's been dried out in the sun for like 5 months, which sometimes, you get that look when they're like that. So I guess ours isn't quite as severe, but it's changed for me over the years. Look, my approach to it has changed over the years, and I've done everything and every approach under the sun, from when I first started in the complete fucking bro science approach to being very evidence-based and, much more balanced, I guess, in how I'm approaching it. And, for me now, water really only increases by about 25% of what I would normally drink, making sure that I'm just full and hydrated at a cellular level hydrated. Like I've just got enough water that when I actually do start increasing my carbohydrates progressively, and it is progressively over the course of the week, that they're actually doing something. They've actually got water there to manipulate my physique a little further, right? And peak week, people think there's this magic pill that in peak week you take it and it's like the fairies come and they sprinkle a little dust on you and all of a sudden you turn into this amazing queen, right? With this physique that's like ripped as shit. It doesn't work that way. Like if you're not already, conditioned and diced, and peak week's not going to do much to save you at all. Yeah. But if you are, as conditioned as you should be, peak week is that extra 1%, and it crisps you up and it fills you out and it brings that edge that makes you just flawless on stage, right? So it is the ribbon on the Tiffany box. It is not the Tiffany inside, right? That's got to be there already. You got to work for that Tiffany first, girls. And then the box and the ribbon comes on the end, Yeah. And I find peak week is exhilarating because, especially in my level, in my category, you really are unwrapping a gift I feel like I'm unwrapping a Tiffany box every day of the week, and it's exciting. You really start to see the extreme detail in the physique, and it becomes like watching an anatomy chart unfold, and that's freaking cool. The separation and the splits and everything comes through, and I get so off on seeing all of that, because it's a hard work, because you think about it, for 9 months a year I'm sweating and toiling in a gym, and you're getting something out of it, you're doing something, but you can't visibly see it all, right? So it's that process of finally seeing the result and being like, yeah, boy, that's what it was all for. Yeah, so it's exciting.
So when you get to like what you were saying before, you've done the comp, and then after
the recovery phase, which is like what I'm in now, where it's that, and I have more respect for that phase now than I ever had.
How do you find your clients though? Like, because
they're all crazy. They're all crazy. I tell them all the time, I'm just going to stand at the end of the stage and hand out straight white jackets. I'm joking. But it's a mental game for them all.
Because just explain to the listeners about, now we've got a refeed after comp.
Yeah. So you're going from having had a deficit, obviously a caloric deficit for such a long period of time. What you're wanting to do to, stabilize and get, bring hormone balance and bring, the homeostasis back to the party, because it's been out having a bit of a drink on its own somewhere else, is bringing your baseline, back and getting your calories back up to your maintenance levels, as quickly as possible.
What happens if you just...
if you continue trying to roller coaster through sitting at the top of the summit of Mount Everest and how long you think you're going to survive at the top of the summit? Not long. You're going to be icicles coming from your nostrils from snot in no time at all, right? You just really can't live there. You will die. So
why is it important to slowly increase the calories?
Well, I like to increase them as quickly as you can, but you can't immediately jump straight from whatever you're on to double it straight away, because you probably will double it in time, but you can't do it straight away, because not only are you going to have a little bit of, gastrointestinal distress, because you just all of a sudden the volume increases. You're probably also going to be eating foods that aren't necessarily things you've been eating that whole time, which again has another layer of byproduct to it. Is that you don't you want to reintroduce it in a way too where mentally you're not going to create a bad relationship with it, because especially with young girls, they freak out. They start going, oh my God, and the immediate association for it is I'm going to get fat. And it's about understanding that it's not like that. It's what the food is for, respecting, the job it does and what the body needs it for and why it's important, and then looking at the development goals you want to make after that stage, or what your new performance goals are, or whatever your new goal is. But I always set goals with my clients before they even go into the stage. So they've got a purpose still at the end of it. Because what I find the biggest issue for most people is that they'll get to the end of the stage and they've got nowhere to go. It's like the bride that spent the last 2 years of her life planning a wedding day, gets married, and then wakes up next to her husband and goes, right, is this all I get? It's just you forever. The day's over. Like there's nothing else. Where's the consolation prize? I'm sure we don't actually do that, but a lot of girls actually become bridezillas, right? And it's they do get that post wedding day blues. Well, the same thing happens with comp. It's like everything's about this one day, right? And then the day's over, and it was a great day, and we celebrated, and we had an amazing time. But then it's like, okay, now what do I do with myself?
And as a coach, how do you find that coaching people through? Is it easy, or is it something that you find a lot of people?
I spend more time post a show, to be honest. Like when we talk about coaching being the supporting and the development of someone, through a process, I think that most coaching is in the setup phase, in the pre-prep, and the mental strength and the coaching and the development of someone to be prepared to go into the journey. And then I think it's more after the journey. So it's the pre and the post where you spend significantly more time with your athletes, for sure, because the journey itself is self-explanatory, and they get into that rhythm, that structure, and that daily habit of the process, right? So there's much more process orientation with this impending deadline. So it's they have a different way of navigating that. It's the pre where they don't quite know what's coming, and then the post where they don't know what's happening to themselves after, that you've got to spend more time in. Well, I think if you're a good coach, that's what you're doing anyway.
Because I know, like, after my comp, when I did it, I think it might have been 2 months after, you constantly think about what you were.
Yeah.
And then you're lost in this game, and you're telling yourself, well, you're not meant to be that.
Exactly.
And then you're battling with yourself, and you're like, okay, no, I'm actually great now, how I am now. And then you go, oh no, but I really want to be that again. And I really want that. And so I feel like after comp, that would be a huge thing.
It is.
For a lot of people to wrap their head around, because to realize that is just part of the game. It's not a forever thing.
Exactly. And, I think it's about celebrating what health means to you, and getting really clear and really, I guess, defining that space, because, health is not just about aesthetic. There's a whole bunch of things, and health is what we talked about before. It's mental and emotional health. It's physical health. It's reproductive health. It's having energy and being able to socialize. There's so many other parameters to health, and I think having the big picture view as to what health is allows you to be a little bit more objective when you have those moments of, oh my God, I don't have my abs. Like how important really are abs on the big scheme of things? Because if it means you're going to be sitting at the summit dying, probably not that much. And then also respecting that you can get there again. It's like when you're in prep and you've got those 6 weeks or maybe longer where you can't eat your favorite food for a little while, it's okay, because it's only for a little while and you can get it again, right? It's never off the table completely. Well, neither are your abs. They will come back the minute that you decide you want to be disciplined enough to go through it for whatever reason you've got that objective again. So, I think, again, it's how it's presented for how you look at it and how you process it. And that part of coaching people through that. And look, you know what? You're not always going to be successful, because not everyone's going to be ready for it or capable of doing it, or, everyone has their own baggage and their own stuff, right? So sometimes you're successful with it and sometimes you're not. But I just no longer take that personally if someone isn't capable, because that doesn't necessarily mean that that's my fault or on my end. Exactly. Yep, correct.
Yeah.
But before, like 4 or 5 years ago, I would have so taken that personally and been like, oh my God, I'm a shit coach. I didn't save them. I wanted to be a martyr and wanted to save everyone. You know what? No, I can't. It's okay. I'm not Mother Teresa. I'm all good.
You win some, you lose some.
Exactly.
So is there anything that you would want to change in the bodybuilding, or I know you love WBFF, but in that industry, is there anything that you would want to change if you could?
Yeah, I would. I'd like to definitely change the scope where, you've got this situation where, and I know everyone that's listening to this is probably seeing this, people compete once and then throw their shingle up and they're a coach, because there is so much that goes into it. And, I think that anyone that follows me knows I'm constantly studying, constantly upskilling. I'm currently doing my postgraduate diploma, and eventually, as of next year, as soon as I finish this, I'm going into my master's, and I want to work in and help with research in the industry because, I'm really wanting to be a part of the progression that is, more informed decision-making around the process itself, more awareness around, the effects of certain strategies or of this sport even as a whole. Like, I think that the only thing I would change is information, awareness, and education. And also, I think for the people that just are unassuming and don't know better, I would change the constant, latest fad trend thing that people seem to jump on, because I think that there's really unrealistic expectations and goals that get set by following some of those influencers and jumping on those bandwagons. And I think that then it becomes very, self-sabotaging, because it creates those parameters of, self-loathing and I'm not good enough and all that way of thinking, whereas I'd much rather see people become, educated and equipped and
be mindful,
resourced.
Exactly, and be able to optimize their health rather than
have it be where it's about them and their progression, their journey, not comparative analysis as to someone else that they think has got everything in their world, and their 5-minute perfection reel on Instagram is what they want and they should look like that. And my heart goes out when I see that, but I see a lot of it. There's a lot of young girls coming through and they're like, but even just some of the young pros, they're like, well, I can't go and compete at Worlds yet because I don't look like that on social. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they'll be comparing themselves to some of the more higher profile influencers. And I'm going, you don't need to be. You don't even need to be working full time in this industry to go and become a world champion in it, because you can be. Your journey doesn't need to look like that. Your journey needs to look like your journey and you.
Yeah. And that's what makes you that individual unique.
Yeah.
As well.
But I think that would be the only thing that I think with the industry, I would love to change is where people feel like they've got to follow and they can't be their own individuality, and where I think sometimes the things they're following aren't necessarily going to be the best for their health and well-being long term.
I think that applies to everybody as well.
Yeah, 100% it does. 100% it does.
So, how many actually have you won? How many competitions have you won?
5. So I've got 5 crowns. Yeah. I have the most crowns in the brand. Today,
nice.
This win gave me the most crowns. So I have 5. This is my 3rd world title.
Yeah.
But I've got 2 international titles, the Miss USA titles that I had prior to my first world title.
Yeah.
And now we're in the process of just starting to build. I'm just starting into a hybrid powerlifting platform now in my training, my programming, because we are going to try for my very first novice powerlifting comp in this next off season, just to prove every single professional that said that I wouldn't never do that again, that I'm going to smash it out of the water.
You're going to do it.
I'm going to do it.
Nice.
Going to do it because I'm not broken.
Yeah, nice. I like it.
Yeah.
So that's your next big thing.
It's my mantra. That's my next big thing. So we're doing that. But in the process of doing that, and the purpose too of some of what I'm doing in that front is that I am still focused on building the physique in the couple of zones we've identified that could still have progression. And that is in the lower quadrant glute, the glutes and the hamstrings, total volume thickness development in my lower half. But everything else will stay in the same proportion really as it did this year, because my proportions this year were really, really great. And we brought such, amazing improvements to the stage this year because I was able to do more. So, but having said that, we brought all those improvements and it was a massive shift on the last year, but I really only started squatting and deadlifting about 4 months out from stage, because the first, sort of 3 months of the year was all my desensitization stuff, all my building and my platform work going into being able to do that. Yeah. So I'm excited knowing that this whole year will be.
You'll have amazing growth.
I know. I'm loving
lots of potential because you got time. That's exciting.
I'm going to be thicker than a Snicker, people. Thicker than a Snicker.
So tell me, Alicia, what's your advice for people that are wanting to go into comp or may feel like they want a little bit of a weight loss and they feel like they're struggling, something holding them back? Yeah,
I think that's great. The last thing you just said, because I would be first of all looking at it and getting really real with myself about, okay, well, why? Why have I never achieved this prior to now? Like, what have I been holding myself back from? What do I let hold me back? What have I given permission to in my life that stops me from progressing forward?
And that's a massive one.
Yeah. And then how do I stop doing that? What's the process to undertake? Why do I want to achieve what I'm telling myself I want to achieve? What does it look like? What's it going to feel like when I get there? What's it going to smell like, taste like? Who's going to be with me? Really, really visualize it in every sensory of the term visualization. Bring all the senses into it. And then look at, if you're going to want to compete, what are the physiques that you most align yourself with and what feels most like where you want to go aesthetically? And, don't be stupid. Don't look at like something that's genetically the polar opposite of you and go, I want to look like that, because genetically you're never going to get there. But if you know something is still attainable, then aim for it, you know what I mean? And have an idea, because when you pick that physique that you think roughly is something that your body could move towards, then you're going to find your home. Like, you're going to find the brand that best suits you, because we all have different sorts of physiques that we're celebrating at different, category levels. So, yeah, exactly. So, some are more smaller, petite, some are, more cut and jacked, some are, more thick and healthy looking. Like, sort of our brand is like that. It's quite, it's more health orientated, I think, in the finishes that we present. So, you find that, and then you know what avenue you're going to go towards, and then just go to shows and get a feel for them and what feels good, and get your vibe, and then find your tribe, really. But get clear on you.
Exciting, and like, it will help you drive you.
Exactly. And then look, I'll always say, get help, invest in yourself again and again, and that means get mentors, get guidance, get coaches, spend that money, because it will be the biggest return you ever get, as long as you pick the right one.
Yeah, I think you don't know what you don't know.
Correct, 100%. Yeah, and you fast track your failures. Yeah, if you just get some guidance along the way, you'll have a fair few less of them. Yep.
Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. Yeah.
Bend over. I am. That's actually what it looked like. I am. This is me bending over. What are you talking about? My chin is on my chest. Don't ask more of me.
Well, it's been so lovely having you on the podcast.
It's been awesome being here. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story with everybody.
Just some of them. There's like a whole bunch more. We could podcast for a month.
Look forward to the next podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun. Flex.
I don't want to show mine. Holy shit, show me again.
My split, my separation.
Oh, yeah, mate, that's crazy.
And this is me fat. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
So we accidentally, the phone died out, so we lost the loss.
We talked for too long.
We did. We talked for too long, and the audio is all on Apple and Spotify.
So when you hear the desensitization, when I'm talking about that, this is what I was doing. So you're going to hear us talking about that. There's going to be no video, but that's what it was. It looks funny, but it'll make sense.
So tell me about, we've got a...
Oh, her challenge. We were thinking this up in the car here, and I was like, how are we going to make this so much fun for you guys to watch? And I said to her, she doesn't have to do it now, because I want her to actually have fun with it. And then I cannot wait to see what she puts together. So her challenge is, she needs to come up with a 2-minute posing routine as a male fitness model for the WBFF. Rules are no closed fist, no most muscular poses, and it's up to her whether she wants to do it in trunks or do a combo of trunks and suit.
Oh my
Bringing
God.
her best GQ to the stage.
Oh, that's going to be epic. I'm going to have to watch some footage.
I figured it'd be something different.
Yeah, this is going to be good. I can't wait.
So we're going to have a stay tuned. I'm going to be sharing this on my feed. This will be great.
Do I have to have my hair done?
No, it's up to you. Completely up to you. You can dress up, dress down, not dress at all. Totally up to you. Totally up to you. You can tan, not tan. The only thing you can't do is no closed fist and no most muscular, because that is the WBFF way. But think Blue Seal.
All right, I reckon I can do it.
Mocha Frappuccino latte. I can just picture her coming out of one of those and being like... Okay, people, so happy to have been on board this podcast. Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
and I hope you all get something out of it.
Yeah, thanks for showing your telling your story.
And my bicep.
Oh, it's been lovely having you.
Thank you.
I'm sexy and I know it.